Hi everyone, Christina, the Optimistic Chick. Today I'm gonna continue on with my my childhood story and take off where we left off, and that would be when I attempted suicide at 16 for no apparent reason, and yet in my own evaluation, psychoanalysis of myself, I believe it was very premeditated. I believe it was acting out in anger against my brother for telling me he was gay, which I absolutely friendly. I love my brother and his husband of 47 years. I adore him. But at that time, I believe that I thought I had lost two parents, like two fathers, but let's not get too deep into my analysis of that. Let's move forward. After that, my mom would not put me on any medication at all for ADHD or manic depression, which is what I was diagnosed with. I didn't have any real noticeable problems during college. I had a professional sports life, and I think the sports kept both the ADHD and the bipolar disorder really at bay. And I never would talk about my father's death to anyone, not to the therapist that I got assigned to after my suicide attempt. I just clammed up. I clammed up until probably the last 15 years before I would talk to anyone. I just refused to talk to anyone about it. I would say my life has always been high functioning and until the past 15 years. I married a man, very intelligent man, and we had a really great business together. That man is a diagnosed narcissist with antisocial personality disorder. And I had shared for the first time in my life everything with a person. And then we had a young son. We went through a terrible divorce. And he used everything that I had told him, every secret, I didn't even know gaslighting was, but he used everything against me. And while I'd been stable and, fine, I completely unraveled, and my bipolar disorder was ignited. I mean, in a severe way. Now, at first, there was the depression, which seemed, that was obviously felt normal because I was going through a divorce and anxiety. But then when I swiveled into mania, I enjoyed it. And the mania lasted much longer than the depression, and I just rode with it. But it became much more frequent and much more dangerous. And, as the divorce carried on and was not finishing, horrible events took place. And I lost my son. I was arrested. My mania, after about 3 years, went into psychosis, which contributes, or is why I have psychotic features now. Don't quote me on this, but I think once you have mania and it goes into psychosis, it stays with you. I don't believe you ever lose that. I think, like me, you can control it. I have not had psychosis for over 10 years. I take a antipsychotic when I feel any change. I don't take an antipsychotic daily, but I have an amazing relationship, which is very honest and open with my neuropsychiatrist. And that's something that is so important. Now, I had to be stopped in my tracks because my family just kept covering for me, enabling me. And I love my family, but they didn't believe in mental illness. They didn't believe that I could have mental illness. And yet I kept getting in trouble or doing these things. But finally, I mean, I was just out of control. And then it got so bad that they finally just, I did something really, I can't even tell you how stupid it was for me to get in trouble, because it's just so stupid. But I got stopped in my tracks, and it was the best thing for me, because it was during that time of being incarcerated that I was stabilized, and just, it was the first time in years that I felt normal and had a whole new outlook. And I had to start from scratch when I got out. I mean, literally, my family was just like, you're on your own. But it was like a whole new attitude, like for real. It was hard, but it was a gratitude attitude, and it was a blessing. And so it's not fun having, that F word on your record, but sometimes that's what it takes. And that's why I always tell people, be careful about enabling, be careful about enjoying that mania high too much, because I guarantee it'll end up death, jail. I'm an old person, and I can tell you it comes to that if you have bipolar 1. Now I want to talk about when I discovered about the DID. My mother passed away in 2017, and it wasn't until then that with my psychiatrist, I even started speaking about my childhood. And he's great because he doesn't push anything. But I started when I'm writing a book, and I started to try to put together things, and I was like, I can't remember this or that. I can't. And I realized I couldn't even remember my father's face really without a picture. And that was strange. And so I've always been asked by psychiatrists over the years, were you abused? And it really upset me. And because my dad I was never sexually abused or spanked or anything like that. And it really upset me. And then something that happens with children that are left with one parent is they depend very strongly, heavily on that parent. And they cling to that. Well, what happened in my case is my mom also clung to me. It was this codependent relationship. And she was my best friend. I was her best friend. And so the thought of ever tainting her memory or saying anything like she didn't love me enough, it was an absolute no-go for me. That I would never have said that. But when she passed away, little by little, I began to do research and soul searching, and slowly, I realized what had happened and the dissociation. And, there is, of course, an ability to be hypnotized and possibly have the memory, regenerated. And I absolutely don't want that. My theory is if my subconscious protected me against it, then I don't want to remember it now. Nothing will change it. And I believe, in fact, that my trauma actually may have made me a stronger person. And that's obviously not the same for everyone, but I believe for me it is, because, I'm in my early 60s and I've had bipolar 1 and so many other things for so many years. I've had multiple suicide attempts, but I've been great for many years. And, I stand up for bullying causes, and, I'm engaged. What? It's true. So there's hope, there's hope. And, you know, even people, and I take low doses of medicine. That's the other thing I want to really, really stress, is that you don't have to have even the most severe form of bipolar disorder, which I think pretty much I have. You don't have to be on high doses of medicine. Now, that said, you do need to have a great relationship, an honest one, with your psychiatrist if you have bipolar 1. Now I'm talking about bipolar 1 because then we're talking about mania. So I'm not gonna, bipolar 2 or unipolar, that's a different deal. But bipolar 1 with mania, you're gonna need to be on medication, I think. My own personal, not doctor, I have a disclaimer in my thing, but you don't have to be on a lot. I'm on minimal. I don't gain weight. I have minimal. I don't have any side effects, honestly, and I do great. My fiance is totally supportive of me. He's an attorney. He knows all about my past. So there's hope. There's hope. And that's what I want to spread to you guys. So that is my story. And even my ADHD is probably the most complained thing because I talk so much. But, anyway, that is my story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And again, please like, subscribe, get me up to 1,000 followers so that I can get monetized, and keep your eye out for my podcast. It's going to be a little surprising, I can assure you. Thank you. Bye-bye.